What up, what up, what up? I'm AC Cruz. You know who you are. Welcome to my podcast. Today's guest, Pablo Urbina. It's been a while since we heard from Pablo, and it's going to be great to catch up. So let's jump right into it. Jackie, do your thing.
On the next AC Cruz Podcast.
Well, I'll be damned. How you doing, brother?
What's happening, Carnal? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing
Long
great.
Long time no hear, long time no see.
It's been, I want to say, 10 years or
Man.
more. No, you know what? Longer than that. It was in Vegas.
Yes,
And
sir. Yes, sir.
I was standing at a bar, and I was with my girlfriend at the time, which was Rebecca, right?
Yep, Rebecca Valadez.
Yeah, you guys were friends from the what is it, Network for Young Artists, Performing Arts?
Something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, when you said, "Oh my God, this guy did wonders for my career," and she said, "Well, I already killed Tejano." Because that's when I mixed all the Norteño Light with the Tejano and Intocable and Costumbre, Sólido, whatever. Anyway, how you been?
Traizion.
Yeah,
I'm good, man.
Yeah.
I'm good, man. You know, like you said, it's been a long time, and we've been friends for, man, I've been doing this for 32 years, so we've been friends for probably 25, 24 of that. You know, I always, and you know this, we'll get into that, but I always give credit where credit is due, and I don't give a rat's ass what anybody says. If it wasn't for AC Cruz, a lot of us out here would have never had a career, and believe me, I know for a fact that La Traizion would have never had a career if it wasn't for you.
Well, thank you so much. You know, last week, Leti Guval was here, and she said, AC, if it wasn't for you, my song would have taken off the way it did. Because after you started playing it, Houston came along, San Antonio, Dallas, and so on and so forth, man. So, yeah. I had fun because my competition, as you recall,
you're going to get into that? We're going to get into the competition?
What I'm saying is the competition would pay the usuals, Selena, Emilio, the Fiebre. But I would say, you know what? Let's do some new stuff. But let's play the solid hits like Emilio and David Lee and Selena. But let's do some new stuff like Cumbia Kings, like La Traizion, like Leti Guval, you know? And I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it. And so did the listeners, man.
Well, you know, one of the good things was back in those days is Que Pasa 99.5. They were behind you. They believed in what you thought was going to be a hit. Don't get me wrong. They probably didn't always believe it, but probably 85-90% of the time they let you do what you wanted to do. You know, you were, program director and you were the one that had a knack for the hits. And I think that was one of the biggest things that was not only amazing, but it was just, the fact that they gave you that spotlight. Not many people get that. You know that, and I know that. Not many people get that opportunity, because I know a lot of DJs or MCs or whatever you want to call it, DJs in the industry.
Program directors.
No, but a lot of DJs and people that ended up being program directors that never had that opportunity. They had to follow the playbook. They had to follow what Univision said, or they had to follow what, whatever Lopez Communication. I'm not saying Lopez in general now, but you know what I'm saying? Just in general, whatever they said is what they had to follow. And it hasn't always been that way. Man, if anybody had a knack for the hits, Carnal, it was you.
Well, thank you, brother. Thank you. But yeah, I did have a consultant, but I never listened to what the consultant did. I knew my gut feeling, a song, you know what I'm saying? And they said, yeah, I like that song. Anyway, brother, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you so much. Man, it's been a long time. Let me tell you how I came across your name. I was going through some of the pages on Facebook, and I came across Keith Leal. Keith Leal has a countdown. He has his internet radio station, right?
Yep.
And I saw there number 5 or number 4, La Traizion. I said, oh my God, let me get on Pablo, man. So I called Keith. Keith called you. You said it's okay. Give my number.
Always, man. And I take my hat off to Keith and Houston's Tejano Hits for for spinning the music and the song. I wrote a song for a young lady that passed away, Ernestine Romero. She was on my label, and she was tragically killed by her husband. They were in separation, and he just couldn't handle, I guess, the separation aspect of it,
Yeah.
and he ended up murdering her. Domestic violence isn't for anybody. So if you're in a relationship like that, please get out of those types of relationships. It's not healthy for anybody, and always seek help. And if you have a fear of your significant other, whether it be a man or woman, you have to get help, and you have to ask. You cannot keep it to yourself, because now Ernestine isn't here. But I wrote a song for her that we released under her mother and her father for their foundation for Ernestine Romero. It's ErnestineRomero.com, and you can go on there for her foundation. Anyway, and we just, we did it, and it did real well on radio. It still is, and we're getting ready now that we got a little bit of a little want again for Traizion, because I have a lot of songs that I've recorded that I have not released.
First of all,
Yeah.
let's talk about how La Traizion got started, where you're from. Now, I know that you're not in Houston anymore. You're in Chicago. What the hell, man?
Yeah, no, I'm actually in Ohio.
Okay.
I grew up in Chicago in the summers. My dad and my grandma and my family used to live over there, but Toledo, Ohio is my hometown. This is where I actually moved back to about 11 years ago. My mom had brain cancer, and when she got sick, I came back home to take care of her. It was just me and my brother. So she didn't have any daughters or anything like that. And, I had already been in Tejano for so long. My mom, I came home and I saw her, man. And I said, you know what, Mom, you want me to come home? And she was just, oh man, she was like a zombie at the time. And she was basically like, hey, yeah, I love you. I just want you to come home. So I came home, took care of her, and I've been here since. So I just go back and forth now. It's easier for me to fly.
Yeah.
But, I lived in Houston for 25 years. That's when I met you and went through that process with Traizion. But yeah, it was around 92, 93.
Yeah.
We started off in Denver Harbor, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston. I actually started with two of the original members and the original manager for Fama. They had a split, and Javier and Oscar and Edgar, along with Albert, their keyboard player, Albert Chavarria, had taken off and went a separate way. That's when they signed with Voltage, with Oscar, with Henry Gonzalez. And when they took off, Mr. Romo was going to keep Fama and keep rocking and rolling. They had a singer by the name of Fernando Dominguez, who ended up being the singer for Cumbia Kings after DJ Kane and them were all gone. He did the live album that won the Grammy. But anyway, me and Fernando, we went to school together, high school. So we were in choir together. And basically, in a nutshell, he called me up. He said, hey, I'm leaving this band. They're looking for a singer. Do you want to do it? I gave it a shot. Next thing you know, we're doing demos. We're practicing all the time. We weren't gigging at the time. Just, practicing, trying to, get a niche as far as our own sound and so forth, so on. From there, man, it took off, back in 1992, 93.
So what was the name of the group, man?
We started off as LA Boys. And then from LA Boys, we did a demo. We sent the demo to my primo, Gilbert Velasquez, the biggest producer in La Monda Tejana.
The biggest Grammy winner.
The biggest yes, 16 Grammys. And I think he might even have won another one.
I think it's,
year,
17, I believe. Go ahead.
So Gilbert, his mom and his dad came to see me and some family in in Houston. And I gave him a copy of the demo. I didn't know how big Gilbert was. I just knew that he was a guitar player in Latin Breed and that he produced music. So when I sent him the demo, this was on a Friday. On that Monday, he called me. He said, hey, cuz, how you doing? Introduced himself, because I really didn't know Gilbert that well. And he said, look, have you ever heard of Arista, BMG, Adiola, RCA Records? And I said, yeah, man, I got a lot of different types of genres of music, but with that, with BMG or Arista on there. And he says, this guy named Luis Silva, do you know who that is? And I said, man, I see him on Johnny Canales all the time, giving people, gold and platinum albums with La Mafia, with groups like that.
Yeah.
And he said, well, this guy is signed in bands for BMG, and they want to sign you. He said, one of the songs on the demo, it was called Quiero Amarte. He loves it. They want to sign you guys. Don't sign with anybody. They're going to send you a letter of intent. I said, okay. So Friday, I get the letter. We got together. We signed it. We sent it back. We all agreed at the time, the LA boys. And about a week later, we drove down to San Antonio. We met Luis, and Luis said, I want to sign you guys. I'm ready. Let's sign on a dotted line. But before you sign, we got to get rid of LA boys. I hate it.
I was thinking the same thing, man.
Yeah, because the guys are like, Latin American boys, LA boys. Honestly, myself, I was like, thank God, because I didn't like it. So at that time, Intocable was coming out, bands like that. And Intocable, it was actually their second album, but the one with Síguele, all the big ranchera hits.
I love that album. I love that one.
Best, one of the best albums ever, bro. Hands down.
Sure.
So we get in there, and Luis says, "Give me a couple of weeks, and I'll come up with the name." So about 3 weeks later, he calls me. He calls us. We're in a meeting, and he says, "Hey, this is what we're gonna do. The name of the band is gonna be La Traizion with the Z." Traizion. And I was thinking, all I kept thinking was the Z, like Zorro, because it's kind of flashy. You know what I mean? Put the Z, and
sure.
that's what Luis said. So next thing you know, man, I mean, it was a month. We went from signing a contract to recording at Joey Records with Gilbert. It was right before Gilbert got his own studio.
Yeah.
And we did the first album, Quiero Amarte, and things took off.
When you came to Que Pasa to visit me for the first time down in the valley, that was with BMG, or were you still with
No, that was with BMG. That was with BMG
Hector.
Ariola.
May rest in peace. Hector was a man. Big
Hector
heart.
Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is, when we got to BMG, I'm gonna tell you a funny story about Hector.
Sure. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Number one, first and foremost, that was my dog. Me and Hector, we did so much. Just like me and you. When it comes to la música, la onda, Tejano music, whatever, we did so much stuff together. And Hector, he wasn't there in the beginning. Anyway, they had a few other people, right? But the people they had were more Mexicano, like from Mexico.
Yeah.
And they didn't really care about the Tejano music. So when the first album came out, Quiero Amarte, they didn't do nothing with it. But thank God to places like San Angelo, Odessa, Lubbock, Texas, Hobbs, New Mexico,
Sure.
Dallas. We got a lot of little airplay in all those areas with Quiero Amarte, with a few other songs from that first album, right? Okay. And we came in to record the segunda, right, which was Solo Contigo with Gilbert. And we recorded the first one with Gilbert too, but the second one, Gilbert had his studio. At that time, the guys in La Traizion were kind of tired of the recording, the driving, because we lived in Houston. So they basically said, look, man, because we recorded the first album. And they said, look, you go ahead and record. We don't really want to drive. We're tired. At that time, I had just quit my job. I was getting unemployment. So I had said to myself, if we're going to do this, we got to do this now. I'm going to put my blood, sweat, and tears in this, right? So Gilbert's calling me on a Sunday. Hey, I need you here by 3:00 tomorrow. Damn. All right, I'm on my way, cuz. Never told him no. I get to San Antonio, me and Chente, we're in the room listening to songs. Chente's got the bajo out, tocando canciones, looking at the letra, just everything that we could do, right? So we start recording. Basically, that Solo Contigo album, in all honesty, is all me, Chente Barrera, Jerry De La Rosa, rest his heart,
yes,
man.
Yes.
Gilbert Velasquez, that was Solo Contigo, bro. Honestly.
Yeah.
And we recorded the album. I think and I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't know about anybody else, but I've been doing this a long time. And I think that is one of the best albums ever in Tejano music when it comes to Para que quiero un corazón, Si tú fueras mía, Se me faltas tú, Solo Contigo, the Tejano songs. We did a lot of accordion stuff because remember, that's when Tejano was changing a little bit.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? 96,
Hell yeah.
97. You know what I'm saying?
Even Fama started doing accordion. Corazón. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, but even before that, Ojitos Color Café,
yes.
Oye Chicas, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it really, really started changing. And so we wanted to do more accordion stuff, but I loved Tejano. So we were doing all the rancheras and we were doing great. we talk about people who can pick the hits like yourself. The people from BMG were picking the Tejano songs in all those areas, Lubbock, like I said, Odessa, Hobbs, places like that. We were doing very, very well. All of a sudden, I get to Que Pasa Radio with a man by the name of AC Cruz.
Come on now.
And AC Cruz looks at me, and it's about 9 a.m. All my guys are hungover. and half of them didn't even want to come to the radio station because they didn't want to get up. And I remember you looked at me, bro, and you said, Pablo, it was during a commercial. You said, I listened to the album and I like it.
Oh, so we were on air doing an interview.
Yep, we were on the air in the morning doing an interview.
Yeah, go ahead.
And you pointed at me and you said, but this is the song that's going to do it. So right before, about 4 months before I came in to do that interview with you, I would talk to Kakukuka Radio at the time, Estéreo Latino, whoever. And nobody ever really ever paid us any mind, okay? About that 4 months before I came down there with you, the original Traizion guys and myself, we had a fallout. And I told them, I quit. I'm done. I'm tired of busting my ass trying to get us somewhere. And you guys aren't on the same page. Okay. And they told me basically to go to hell, get my shit and get out. Cause that's exactly what I was told. And I said, cool, I'm good. I'm out. And Hector Rodriguez was at BMG at the time. And Hector calls me. And this is the funny thing, AC. This happened on a Sunday. Sunday night, Hector calls me and says, hey, are you ready to go on the road? We got to go do this promo tour. And I'm like, yeah, man. I said, but I quit. He's like, oh, shit. Well, let me talk to Mike. I forgot Mike's last name. He used to be with Sony, and then he went off with BMG. He says, let me talk to Mike, and I'll get back with you. So the following week, he calls me, and he says, look, I talked to these guys. Can you do it on your own? And I said, bro, I was, 25 years old? AC, I didn't know what I was doing. All I wanted to do was sing and be in a band, right? And I said, yeah, I can do it. He said, all right, you got 2 weeks to get your shit together and get it going, right? To get a band.
Yeah.
So he picks me up that following Monday. I remember we're in Corpus Christi. We're at 99.5 doing an interview.
Sure.
And the gentlemen that were no longer in the band call him and say, hey, we just wanted to let you know, Paul's not in the band no more, but we're going to keep it going. And we got a new singer, which was the backup singer at the time. And Hector says, well, I don't know about you guys, but Paul's right here with me now. And we're in Corpus at 99.5. Well, what do you mean? What the hell's he doing there? And Hector says, hey, man, you're not going to talk to me like that. And they said, well, what's he doing there? And he says, well, we talked about it and we don't want you guys. We want Paul. Straight up.
I love it.
Straight up. And let me tell you something, bro. I don't ever tell anybody the stories and the history of Traizion. I keep it most of the time I keep it all to myself.
Sure.
There's so much history. And I told him, I said, I'm sitting at the table, and he basically hung up on him and he says, all right, man, you got 2 weeks. So we did the promo tour. We get down there with you. You say, this is the song. Boom. Para que quiera un corazón. Guardianes del Amor. Guardianes del Amor.
By the way, you know that Arturo was here, right?
I heard the interview. It was crazy because and we'll talk about them in a little bit, because about a year later, I got to meet Arturo and Pablo, the guitar player.
Oh, yeah.
He's the one that wrote the song, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I leave you. We're on our way back home, and I'm almost to Houston, and a friend of mine who's now in heaven, Rudy the Flash from Kakukuka Radio.
Rudy, yeah.
Yep, Rudy.
Yeah.
He calls me and he says, hey, Pablo, it's Rudy the Flash, bro. Can you come in and do a radio interview this afternoon? And I'm thinking, because we were with you like at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, man, they ain't never asked me to do an interview before, right? So I'm like, yeah, bro, hell yeah. So I get to H-Town. I go to Kakukuka. And as I'm going to Kakukuka, he says, hey, bro, I'm at Party on the Plaza. He's like, come down here and we'll do the interview. So I get over there. What's up, Paulie, man? What's up, Pablo? I was like, oh, man, everything's good, bro. What's happening? He goes, look, man, we're going to start playing Para que quiera un corazón today. And I'm looking around and I'm like, they're playing it because AC's playing it. Straight up. And it's nothing bad to Rudy, because that was my dog. You know what I'm saying?
No. Here's the deal. Gil Romero and the guys from Caco
Yep.
usually would call me, what's popping right now down in the valley? What's popping right now? And I told them,
Yep.
hey, Traizion, para que quiero el corazón, chingón. Anyway, go ahead.
So I get over there with Rudy, and I told him, I said, dude, I was just in the valley with AC. And he tells me, hey, man, what's popping? What's going on in the valley? And I love La Costumbre, bro. Me and the guys, we used to rock Costumbre, bro, on the radio, traveling from city to city. You know, they had Ya Después, Quiero Decirte, Cuánto Te Amo.
Ooh,
And
good call. Good call.
man, and I'm sitting there, and I remember because you were playing it, and I looked at you, I said, who is that? And I remember the song was like, boom, ba, boom, boom, ba, ba, boom, boom, ba, right? You know, Contento contigo, right? So I'm like, man, that's the jam. So I told Rudy, I said, man, bro, I don't know the name of the song, but there's a song by La Costumbre, and it starts like this. And I did that piece for him.
Yeah.
And he said, all right. And I said, and man, Cumbia King's got a song out with Ricky from Intocable, bro, called Fuiste Mala. I said, and that is the jam. The next day, they were playing Para que quiero un corazón, Quiero Decirte, and Fuiste Mala, bro, on Kakukuka Radio with a bullet. With a bullet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because I'd been on those songs for weeks before.
Yes, you were. You were already playing them.
Yeah.
And this was the funny part. When I heard him the first time the next morning, it was about 10 o'clock in the morning. The top of the hour. Da, 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 da. The next song. Doom, ba, doom, doom, ba. The next song. I was like, oh man. I was like, what the hell? And they took off like rockets, bro.
Yes.
They took off. And then Michael Salgado.
Cruz
Played it. Yeah, the same year. Those 4 songs were the biggest songs in La Onda. And like I was telling you, up here on my wall, where you see the Traizion picture with the discs, right next to there, I have the sound scan. You know what I mean? They used to come out with those, let you know how much airplay you were getting.
Yes.
You know what I mean? On each radio station. Yeah. You're on there. Magic's on there. Kakukuka's on there. San Antonio KXTN was on there. All these different radio stations, the big ones, the big boys. Dallas at the time, KIWW's on there too. Remember KIWW in the Valley? But anyway, bro, and it was a fantastic feeling to have a song. And I'm going to tell you this because I think you know this. Para que quiero un corazón is a household song. There isn't anybody, well, from our era and probably the last maybe up to 10 years ago that doesn't know that song, bro. I go and I can sing that song with Mexicanos and with Tejanos.
Yeah.
And they know it. And they know both versions. Our Tejano version.
Dude, it was awesome. I'm going to tell you right now, I was so impressed. And I told Arturo this from Guardianes. I said, dude, when I met my wife, my ex-wife, I said, check out the song. She says, yeah, that's Guardianes. I said, no, that's La Traizion. She said, no, that's Guardianes. And I said, no, it's La Traizion. She says, wait. Anyway, so she says, that's Guardianes. Obviously, it's done by La Traizion. I said, yep, that's it. The whole time I'm thinking, who the hell is Guardianes, right? I didn't know them until 10 years later, fast forward 10 years later, I got to meet Los Guardianes, man. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Small world, right?
No doubt. No doubt.
And you want to hear something funny? When we were with BMG, they gave us a compilation CD, okay? When BMG introduced themselves to the Tejano music, right? So I have a compilation CD, and it had a group out of Angleton, Texas called La Fierra. A dude named Tony Montana, who was Tejano, was on there. La Traizion was on there with Quiero Amarte. Guardianes del Amor with Para que quiero un corazón. Juan Gabriel, Rocío Dúrcal, El General, like all these artists were on this compilation CD.
Yeah.
And the third song, I believe, was da 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 da. So on my way up to Gilbert's, I had that compilation playing in my disc player. I get to San Antonio. Hector and Mike were there from BMG, and they said, look, we put these songs together. We want you to listen to them because we needed one more song for Solo Contigo. And they said, there was a song from Christian too. Remember, Lloran las Rosas?
Sure.
Lloran las Rosas. Okay, so all these songs are on there. But the first song, promise you, bro, they hit play and I hear da 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 da, and I stopped it and I said, "That's the song I want to do." And Mike from BMG looked at me and Hector goes, "You know that song?" I said, "Dude, it's in my car. I listened to it the whole way up here.
That's all right.
The whole way up here,
Yeah.
all the way, bro." And Hector looked at me and he was like, "All right, that's the one we're gonna do, bro." The last song on the album, okay, after it was all said and done, you picked it. And it took off like wildfire. And I'm going to tell you, bro, AC, if it wasn't for you, bro, I wouldn't still be in this music. Straight up.
Thank you,
Because
man.
Para que quiera un corazón took us to a level that not many people get to.
I'm at you right now.
understand?
Once I saw that song chart and your gigs turned out to be bigger and bigger and
Mhm.
bigger, I said, damn, good for him. Good for him.
And you know, a lot of people don't know this either. So when Para que quiero took off, right? In the Tejano, we were about here, right?
Yeah.
But con los Mexicanos,
Yeah. Way up
we
there.
were here.
Way up there.
And
yeah.
this is why I say this. At that point in our career, Tejanos barely gave us an opportunity. Hector Cano,
Yeah.
Servando Cano's son, was in Houston. They had their office. I don't know if you ever remember a guy by the name of Japo Ceballos.
Yes, I do.
As Para que quiero takes off, we're like in the middle as far as, you know, in the transition into Tejano, right? Estéreo Latino starts playing Para que quiera un corazón, which is the Mexican station. Gracias a Dios. Gracias a Estéreo Latino por la oportunidad. I get a call from Hector Cano and Japo Ceballos. Japo happened to be a good friend of mine. And Japo says, "Hey, there's this guy, Hector Cano, with Cerca. Can you put up sound and play for these events, right?" And I said, "Yeah." At that time, we had the big system, 5 Vegas and 4 JBL double 15s with the horn per side, right? Lights. Remember, this is how long ago this was. Remember the par cans,
Yeah, of course.
the silver cans?
Yes.
And we had the bars. There was like 4 of them on each bar, and you hung up the bar. But we had like, I don't know, 40 of them. So we put those up. And anyway, he tells me, he says, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be 4 bands, and you guys are going to be the opener, and you're going to put up sound. Okay. Who are we playing with? First gig, Liberación, Mr. Chivo, Los Humildes, and La Traizion. Second gig, Michael Salgado, because Michael was hitting both sides of the border.
Sure, she was.
At that time. It was weird to me at the time because I knew all these bands and I knew some of their music, right? But all of a sudden, we're playing with Sonora Dinamita, Maribel Guardia.
Wow.
We're playing with Beatriz Ariana. I mean, the list goes on, bro. Liberación, like I said, Mr. Chivo, Los Humildes. Oh, man, who else did we play with? I mean,
Basically, the full
everybody in
the full lineup for Cano.
the full lineup, bro. The full lineup. Every Los Mier, remember Los Mier?
Yes, of course.
I mean, the list just went on and on and on. We were like, wow, you know.
So you were getting more accepted from the
Mexicanos. Porque los Tejanos, at that time in Tejano, there was a lot of envidia. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot of
sure.
I
understand.
you know, that was the Jimmy and Joe Lopez La Mafia days.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And it was right in that era and then right out. So it was, you know, you're not playing on my stuff. Bring your own stuff, and we might give you a couple of lights, that
Sure,
type of thing.
Sure.
But with the Mexicans, con los Mexicanos, it was, I mean, I remember Los Invasores, bro. Sin problema.
Yeah.
¿Necesita luces, Pablo? No hay problema. Hey, ponle las luces. Okay, está bien. Whatever it was, bro.
Sure.
Whatever it was that we needed, man.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Pablo. You guys toured all over the states as well as Mexico, no?
Everywhere, bro. All over the state. We did a little bit of Mexico, but we did the majority in the states: Florida, New Mexico, Las Vegas, Ohio, Michigan, Illinois. Bro, we played in Alabama at the University of Alabama for Cinco de Mayo.
I love it. Hell yeah.
In a place as big as, remember the Compaq Center in Houston?
Sure.
It looked like that. I remember that curtain opened and we walked out there and we were like, wow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Hey,
You know what I mean?
real quick. Speaking
Uh-huh.
of Nvidia, I'm gonna bring this up because it's
Go
your
ahead.
fault. It's your fault, man. Because
Blame it on me.
it was the Tejano Music Awards, and it was an after party, I guess. You
Yep.
guys were playing at a club in San Antonio called
No.
Tejano, Texas.
Yep, Tano, Texas. Uh-huh.
It was off of Culebra, right?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yes. Yep.
Anyway,
By the valley, the Leon Valley. Yep.
yeah, that way. So anyway, I went there, and you told me, AC, bring us up. Now, mind you, don't laugh. Don't stop. You're laughing. Hold
It's
on.
history, bro. It's part of our history.
Now, I did La Mafia live with the big laser light show at the Houston Coliseum. I did Joe and Jimmy live at Rosedale Park. I guess at that time, everybody wanted me to be the MC. And you said, hey, bring us on, AC. I said, no, man, it's Kagoguga's show. I said, no, I can't bring you on because Kagoguga is the hosting station, whatever. You said, I'm going to play an instrumental and then you bring us on after they get off the stage. I said, no, Relato. So sure enough, you finished the intro with an instrumental and you said, come on out. So I go outside, ladies and gentlemen, welcome out que el grupo de los momentos que la chinga. Anyway, so Pablo Urbina, La Traizion. And the crowd went crazy, man.
Yes,
And-
it did.
And when I stepped off the stage, the guys from Kagoguga were pissed off, man. One of them told me, chingas a tu whatever. Anyway, I said, oh, sí, puto. I was ready to fight. And Abraham Quintanilla was the one that pulled me back. He says, come on, let's go. Let's go to mi tierra.
Yep. Yep.
I said,
Yeah.
let's go.
And don't get me wrong, you know, I'm not in radio, so I don't know how all that stuff works. You know what I mean? But I know at that time, everybody wanted to be the best. And if you really, really think about it, there was four, in my opinion, there was four stations. You had to have airplay in Dallas. You had to have airplay in the valley with Que Pasa. You had to have airplay in San Antonio with KXTN. And you had to have airplay in Houston with Kakukuka. But at that time, you know how it is, bro. It's just like the music, Mafia and Mas. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
sure,
I mean, it just happens that way with some bands. You know
But
what I'm saying?
but I would say this, Pablo. If it wasn't for Abraham Quintanilla pulling away from these guys,
Yeah.
there would have been some trouble, man.
There've been
Chingazo for sure.
Chingazos for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But I love it because Abraham tells me, let's go to mi tierra. A huevo, I'm down with mi tierra. Anyway, Pablo, listen, man, I don't let you go just yet. Now,
Yeah.
La Traizion kicked ass for quite a while and it stopped. What made you stop and what did you do right after that, man?
Well, you know, we did the Solo Contigo album and then BMG, the third album. A lot of people don't know this. Ricardo Castillo La Diferencia. Ricardo recorded him and Adam Vargas, the guitar player at the time, used to be with La Sombra. They recorded our third album, which was Ahora Sin Ti. And that album, we had a song called Tu y Yo, written by Esme Talamantes, that did amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Did amazing.
Yeah.
It was around the time that you were kind of getting out of the Que Pasa thing and KIWW played it. You guys played it. We got real good airplay off of that album and it did good. But the problem was, excuse me, that's when radio really took a dive. They went from the Tejano to playing norteño. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you had Intocable and Macizo and Intenso and Solido.
Well, those are considered crossovers, in my opinion. It's crossovers,
Yeah.
man. But when they would play Poder del Norte, that's too much, man. That's too much.
Yeah. When they were playing Poder, they were playing Invasores, they were playing
Pesado.
Pesado, they were playing.
Which, by the way, Paulo, it's good music, but it
Great
didn't belong
music.
on a Tejano station.
Exactly, because this was the biggest thing. Unless you really sounded like them, we weren't getting airplay on their stations. I mean, we did with Para Que Quiera Un Corazón because it was just a hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And then we had a song a couple of years later called Estas Rinas that did real well también on both sides. Let me go back. Tu y Yo did too, because I remember driving down 45 South, listening to Estéreo Latino, and they played Tu y Yo. That's how good of a song Tu y Yo was. So you had to have, the letra had to be good, and the music had to be good. And we were lucky enough to have about, I mean, we've had probably about 16 songs over the years that have been on radio. Back in the days, we had about 9 or 10 songs that did very, very well. We had one number one, and you know that because you got a plaque on there. We gave you that plaque, remember? Me and Hector and,
That's right,
and the
yeah.
guys.
I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting on that picture, by the way.
Right? Oh, yeah, I gotta, you know what? I will get that for you, I promise. Pero we had those plaques, man, and it was number one. You know, it was us. I think Intocable, if I'm not mistaken, had 3 songs in the top 10.
Yeah.
At that time. They were kicking butt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Pero, you know, it's just one of those things, man. But we recorded the 3rd album with Ricardo, and then BMG went through their process. We got out of BMG, and I think I was out of BMG one day, and I ran into one of the sons for Hacienda Records, Gilbert.
Yeah, Gilbert.
You know, Gilbert was a banker, a bank man that managed people's money. He graduated from Yale, and we saw each other. I was with Que Onda magazine, and we were all talking. And Gilbert said, "Man, you're not with nobody." And I was like, "No, man, we just got released today. I got my release." And he said, "I want to sign you tomorrow." And I said, "You got it." He signed us. The next day, I drove out to Corpus. We signed a contract, and we recorded. What is it? Si tú te vas. And then we had a song called Miento. We did Por Amarte Así, which was a Cristian Castro song.
Sure, yeah.
And, you know, remember that? Por Amarte Así, Por Amarte. We did it as a cumbia. And then we had Estas Rinas. Those 3 songs right there were monsters for us, bro. Monsters. At one time, we had Miento and Estas Rinas on radio at the same time. And that, you know how hard it is to get 2 songs on the radio at the same time.
Nowadays, it's even harder than. Anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
So that was amazing for us, and I thank God, man. I thank God every day just for the blessings, because it's 32 years later and we're still doing this. But you know, those songs over the years, you know, right after that, we did a greatest hits album because of all the songs that we had on radio.
Sure.
And then after the greatest hits album, I did an album called Siempre Tú. We did a new edition song, which is called Still in Love, which is Siempre Tú, that we ended up doing in Spanish that did good for us. That album, I had a song from Banda de Codos called Me Gusta Todo de Ti. I don't know if you remember their hit.
Yeah.
You know, Me Gusta Todo de Ti. So we did that album. That song did good for us. I mean, we had so many songs on that album. But anyway, it just has given us a platform to do what we love to do. And I'm still recording. I have about 16, 17 songs that I haven't released.
I was going to ask you about La Traizion. You're still doing it then, right?
We're still recording all the time. I record with Eddie Perez. Eddie, with La Calma. He was a lot of people don't know this either, but Eddie was with Emilio when they got in the bus accident in Houston. Yep. That's my dude, man. He was with Fama. He was with Eddie Gonzalez. He was with Joe Lopez. And this goes out to the history of Traizion here, or at least Pablo. So in the beginning, when I first bought my sound system, and these are memories that I hold dear to my heart, I and my sound man at the time, Alfredo Garcia, we ran sound for the Hometown Boys with Joe and Ricky and the other brothers and El Papa, con El Jefe, with Steve Lemp here. Remember Steve? The white boy, the keyboard, he played bass on the keyboard.
Yes.
We did a lot of sound for the Hometown Boys. And then as you get into more stuff that we did, we got into the Mexican market. Thank you to Cerca, to Servando and Hector Cano, and also to Melva Cano. We got into the Mexican market and we were able to do stuff in that market. And then after that, when we got into the Tejano stuff, we got into so much different stuff that, because of not only the music, but because of the direction that I wanted Traizion to go in, because a lot of people don't know this, I was in charge of fanfare for like 4 or 5 years.
I remember that.
I did Fiesta with Bill Drain and Henry Brun in them for 3 years, and also with Javier Galvan. You know, we used to do so much stuff, bro, like Emilio and them. Before the crash, I was hanging out with them, and then the crash happened. Okay. The last weekend Joe Lopez played before he got locked up when he went to court that Monday, I did sound for Joe and Eddie and all the guys, Larry Villanueva and all them. And me and Joe talked. Actually, Ernestine and her parents were with us. And me and Joe were talking about it. And he was very, very, and I'm not trying to bring out Joe's personal life. All I can say is Joe, in his heart, felt that he wasn't going to jail.
Yeah.
And he ended up going to jail. And that hit me hard too, man, because I don't care what anybody does. It's none of my business. All I know is Joe Lopez, to me, man, that was my dude. Yeah. He was a good dude. Yeah. And that night when we were at Tejano, Texas, when you were about to get in a fight, when we played Para Que Quede un Corazón, Joe kept telling me, that was my song. That was my song. I was going to record that song. ¿Verdad que sí, Gilbert? He's telling Gilbert, ¿verdad que sí, Gilbert? Dile a tu primo. And I'm sitting there laughing. And Gilbert's like, he's drunk. Don't worry about it. Right? He wasn't telling me like in a bad way. He was like, he loved the song.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah.
Dude, I'm going to tell you right now, Pablo, it's a great song. To this day, it still sounds good. And I want to commend you on everything that you're doing right now, because you're doing a festival in El Paso, no? Or where is it at? No,
Eagle Pass.
Eagle Pass. Yeah, you do this.
Yeah. Yeah. This year, July 4th, we'll have we're doing the Stars and Stripes Festival with Joe Lopez. Speaking of Joe, Gary Hobbs, who I love, man. That is, man, Gary. I mean, when you think about hits, I don't care what anybody says. Gary's got hit after hit after hit after hit after hit after hit after hit.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna tell you a secret. Well, not a secret, but I did a show with Gary. It was I booked David Olivares because for people that don't know, I book a lot of Tejano artists, the Mexican artists. Okay, so I work with Ramon Ayala, with Frank Zuniga. I've worked with Los Rayeros del Norte. I work with Michael. I've worked with
Duelo. Wait, hold on, real quick. You're not gigging anymore?
No, I'm doing both. I'm still gigging. And then I'm also doing festivals and stuff like that that I've been doing for years. I did a festival in Houston, in one of the suburb areas of Houston, and it was David O, Cumbia Kings. All Stars. It was the Cumbia All Stars. Excuse me. Abraham was actually there. You can ask him about this, but it was Cumbia King All Stars, David Olivares, Eddie Gonzalez, Ricardo Casillon La Diferencia, La Traizion, and Gary Hobbs, right? And man, bro, it was probably about 4,000 or 5,000 people there. It was a good turnout, and we're jamming out. And Gary gets up there, and I'm watching him because I got to go back and pay everybody and get their money, and this is that. Because the contracts are with me. So Abraham, he's not going to nobody but Pablo. Pablo, you signed the contract, so I'm coming to you, right?
Yeah.
And I love Abraham to death, man. And I know you know this, but I've had the opportunity to sit down with Abraham Quintanilla. He took me to Hilo in Corpus. He loves the carne guisada, bro.
The hi-ho.
Yeah. And we sat there, man, and I got to spend some quality time with him, and he's a great man, and always answers my phone calls and always has hooked me up. And whenever I've wanted Cumbia Kings, or actually Cumbia King All Stars. But anyway, so we're doing the gig. And Gary's up there jamming, bro. And I'm jamming. I'm on the side of the stage listening to the music, man. Las miradas. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on, right?
Chiquitita, go ahead.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, Chiquitita. I mean, especially, I like his cumbias, but I love his rancheras.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
And he's jamming. He gets done with a song, bro. And the crowd would not stop clapping and yelling. And Gary started crying.
Wow.
Put his head down. And I was right there. And I looked at him and I was like, it's all for you, bro. And till this day, I just talked to Gary a couple of days ago because he's doing 4th of July for me. And we were just talking about it. And I told him, I've always given that man respect where respect is due, because he's done it. And Gary, man, you want to see somebody gigging? Next to Intocable, it's probably Gary Hobbs, bro.
Right on.
Because Gary in Duelo, it's probably Gary Hobbs because Gary plays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but anyway, so I got the 4th of July coming out, and then April 2024, I'm working on a big one, man. And this one's going to be huge. Friday night, we're going to do all Eagle Pass. So we got like Garcia Brothers, Gary Hobbs, Garcia Brothers, Crazy Pimps, people like that. Saturday, we're working on the acts right now trying to get it together, but I'm looking at Ramon Ayala, Intocable. Hopefully I'm talking with, trying to get with Oscar so we can get all that said and done. Traizion and Michael Salgado. Hopefully, we're just going through the motions, and then we're going to do some country. We're looking at Parker McCullum, Randy Rogers. We're looking at Kevin Fowler, and hopefully Cody Johnson, and have just one kick of a country show on Sunday, bro.
Pablo, you never cease to amaze me, brother, because even now you're promoting. Congratulations, brother.
Yeah, man. And I appreciate that. It's just all about the love of the music, bro.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And when I was with Fanfare, that's one thing that they do now. Back then, they weren't promoting the up and comers, Yeah. And they were a little bit, but you know how hard it was for Fanfare, for Fiesta and all that.
When I used to be a program director, I was all about new music, man, for sure.
Exactly. And I tried to instill that, when I was doing Fanfare, bro, I was booking a lot of artists, right? DJ Kane, Jaime Los Chamacos, Eddie Gonzalez, La Diferencia. I mean, the list goes on and on.
But at the same time, you brought the new stuff in.
Exactly. And this is the thing. A lot of those artists weren't doing Fanfare. They never believed in it.
Yeah.
And I would book them like DJ. I told DJ, I said, with Frank Zuniga, I said, hey, that Frank was booking him at the time. And I said, look, he's like, well, you're going to get your percentage. I said, no, do Fanfare for me. You got it, Pablo. Jaime, I invited Jaime out one year. Jaime came out. He got there. We're talking because Jaime's my boy. He's like, man, bro, there's a lot of people. I said, do me a favor. He said, what? I said, play a song. With who? Eddie Gonzalez was on stage. I went right up to Eddie, said, hey, man, Jaime's here. Tianda. He wants to do a song. What? Hell yeah. Jaime comes on and I get on the mic. I said, you're never going to see this again. Get out your phones. Get out whatever you got. Open your eyes because you ain't never going to see this again. Jaime walks out. They went buck wild, bro.
Sure.
Buck wild. And after about 10 years, we bring him Jennifer Pena. Thanks to Fugitivos, the guitar player from the Valley. He played with Jennifer at the time. And he used to play with Roger De Leon. Okay. The guitar player, accordion player. He played with Jimmy for a while.
Yeah.
He used to play with Jennifer. Well, me and Roger got together and he convinced Jennifer to come back and do Fanfare. And she did, which was amazing. And I mean, the list just goes on, man. And a lot of people don't really understand what I've done in La Música. And you'll understand it because you've been in the music like I have for so long. I used to book Cinco de Mayos in Austin. I used to book festivals downtown, Party in the Plaza, or other festivals with a friend of mine who's now in heaven, Mike Kobus in Houston.
Did you ever work with Joe Guillen?
Joe used to be he was at the time the stage manager for Michael Kobus. And for Party on the Plaza and all that. And Joe passed away. I want to send a saludo to him and his family, man. But there's just so much. Me and Javier Galvan, bro, have done so much. That's my dude. Ricardo Castillon, that's my dude, bro. Gary Hobbs.
When we get done, we need to talk about me and you and Ricardo, man. We need to talk about that.
Man, it's just hilarious how I can call these guys and they'll answer the phone for me. Yeah. Just like I call Frank. And he'll hook me up, Ramon Ayala Jr. I mean, it just, it is what it is, but it's the respect that we've gained. Just like you were telling me, I've done all these big wigs on my show, all these big artists, all these names. You know why? Because they respect you.
Ben De Leon from Solido said the same damn thing, man. Even Jesse Turner, the same thing. Jesse Turner says, you have that respect, AC. That's why people will come to your house.
And that's what it boils down to. Because even for me, I've always taken care of everybody. Sure. My belief has always been when the artist gets there, pay them.
Yeah.
When the artist gets there, take care of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And, even the last guys from Houston that were with Traizion before I left, I was just down there recently and did a small tour. My original guys, those guys, they're there for me. They're always there for me. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I had Julian, the accordion player for La Fiebre. I had Liz, the conga player from Cumbia King All-Stars.
Yeah. And
that's just respect. I love them to death, man. And my guys here, the Traizion that I have here in Ohio, these guys, they take care of us from Jesse to Dave. My son was with us for a little while. He's now in Texas.
Before we go, Pablo, I want you to tell the story about your son and the Latin breed.
So Gilbert Velasquez is my primo, and love Gilbert to death, man. I wouldn't have nothing without Gilbert and you. And my son, Gilbert, was the guitar player for Latin Breed. He's the one that basically found Jay, because Jay used to be a drummer. Remember that?
Yes.
And Latin Breed was looking for a new singer. He brought Jay Pedersen. They did Breaking the Rules. And give me 30 seconds. I don't know about if anybody else has it, but this is Breaking the Rules. That's my cousin Gilbert right there.
Yes.
Everybody signed it. Even there's one of the gentlemen, the bass player, who's no longer with us.
Correct.
The only person I need to sign it is Jay. And I will get Jay to sign it. I'm not worried about that in any way, shape, or form. Jay's always been cool with me.
But your boy, tell us about your boy.
So my son goes to Texas and ends up he was good friends with Ben from La Fuerza. Remember, they were with Q Productions.
Yes. So
Ben's the new singer for Latin Breed. They're looking for a drummer. Richard Solis gets out. And all of a sudden, they have my son go try out with a couple of drummers. And luckily, he did his homework. And he's the new drummer for Latin Breed. And like I was telling you, Gilbert took Latin Breed to another level, but played with Latin Breed. And now my son's the drummer. Is that crazy?
That is crazy, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. But, and not to get off the subject, but, with my kids, I think, and this happens when you get in these type of, in La Onda or in music in general, when you're touring and you're out there and you're doing, and you're trying to make something of yourself, the ones that hurt the most are your children. Because a lot of your kids, I lived in another state. My son lived in Ohio, where I was originally from, and my daughter. So I have, to a certain degree, a weird relationship with my kids. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love them to death, but we do have a distant relationship. And even though he's doing his thing and I'm proud of him, sometimes things just go in opposite directions. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I see that. I see it now more that I'm older. Me and my son, we talk and we communicate, which is great. But me and my daughter, we really don't have a relationship. And, it's all because I had a dream. And my dream was to sing and play in Tejano music. The bad part was my kids were the ones that suffered. And I apologize to them. I'm honest. And not only that, my mom, my mom passed away when she was 57 years old. I lost 25 years of being with my mother because of a dream that I had. But don't get me wrong. My mom loved me enough to let me go and do what I had to do. I finished high school in Texas. That's something that I hold dear to my heart because my mom understood. My kids didn't understand, but my mom understood. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And those are the things these are just the trials and tribulations that we go through. Whether my kids love me or don't love me or don't like me, I can't change the past, but it is what it is. And all I ever wanted to do, like I was with my grandfather earlier and I told my grandpa, I said, Gramp, because AC, I went through some shit as a kid out of my own doing. I did a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? I grew up too fast and I did what I had to do. I told my grandpa today, I said, you know what, Gramp? All I ever wanted was for you guys to be proud of me. And here I am now. You see all this stuff in my room.
Sure.
I got awards. I'm going to just turn that a little bit. I got Ernestine's picture right there.
Yes.
And I produced with Eddie Perez 7 albums for her. I'm so happy. I wouldn't change my life for nothing except to get the time back from my mom.
Yeah. Pablo, thank you so much. Continue success, brother. And I can't wait to see you in person, brother.
For sure, bro. You already know. When I come to San Antonio, I'm going to bring you some tacos, bro. Whatever you want.
Right on.
For real. I got you.
Pablo, La Traizion, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon. Cuídate mucho, mano.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate it, man. Much love.
Igual. So there you have it. Now you know some of the shows that are coming your way real soon. 4th of July in Eagle Pass. Hell yeah. And especially next year, 2024. And if Pablo says it's going to be big, you can bet on it. It's going to be big. Thanks again, Pablo, for taking the time to chat with us. And do yourself a favor. Check out the music from La Traizion, past and present. Well, the door. I want to thank the voice girl, Jacqueline, Romeo from TejanoNation.net, and of course, you, the subscribers, you, the listeners. Thank you so much. If you like the show, tell your friends. If your friends don't like it, find new friends. So just chill to the next episode of the AC Cruz Podcast. Much love. Be safe.